Hello, and welcome to the Cookbook Circle podcast. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Victoria.
And we've set out to review the UK's most popular cookbooks, those that you probably have at home and haven't opened in a while. We take one cookbook each episode to cook from and to stress test, digging out their best recipes, bringing them to life again, and hopefully inspiring you to do so too.
Hi, Hannah.
Hello, Victoria.
How are you?
I am well.
Great. Good chat. Tell us about something you've been thinking about recently. With regards to food, don't go too deep into your psyche.
About how nothing matters apart from food. I spotted a book that I would really like to get from Sina Johansson, who I've followed on Instagram for a while. These stories always start out the same. Me saying that I followed somebody on Instagram for a while. She's a cook who has had a couple of scandalicious books on Scandinavian food. And this book, which caught my eye, is called Solo, The Joy of Cooking for One, which has been out since last year, but it's just been released in paperback. I just think it's such a great concept. I'm sure there are a million books about cooking for one person, but I find that when I am just cooking for myself, a lot of the time it is literally toast or at a push, like a very simple pasta dish. So it's nice to just see that it's acknowledged that, you know, cooking for yourself and treating yourself nice is important.
Yeah.
Treating yourself nice.
Treating yourself nice. Yeah, I agree. I think also that some of those like cooking for one recipes that you see are often cook this really big recipe and eat the same thing for the next 4 days, which, you know, isn't treating yourself nice.
No, if there's anything to push yourself into a pit of despair, it's just that. And as much as I said that I'd eat toast on my own, the sample recipes that I've seen include spicy, garlicky, lemony sardines on toast and a croque madame.
Lots of toast.
There is a lot of toast in there, but, you know, the good kind, the fancy kind. So yeah, that looks great.
Can I just say on that note, I love a paperback. More paperbacks, please.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because hardbacks, including the one that we're going to speak about today, of which I have the hardback version, it's so hard to keep them open when you're cooking from them. So yeah, I feel like there needs to be a revolution in cookbook design that includes a flat lay spine.
Invent it.
It's really annoying. Maybe you should just get me one of those stands. You specifically should buy me one of those stands where you put those cookbooks in.
They look like a music stand.
Yeah. I'll just call people over to turn the pages while my hands are covered in cheese. I don't know.
Toast. Oh, toasty fingers.
No, looking forward to that one. This is not the book that we're talking about today.
No, it is not. And before we get to that, let's just give a little recap of what our mission is here at the Cookbook Circle podcast. We collated all of the lists of the best cookbooks of all time that we could find on the old internet. And we created our own little list. It's quite a long list, actually. And each episode of the Cookbook Circle podcast, we take one of the books that was near the top of that list or was repeated over and over again to test it and see if it's worth being on those lists. And today is a big old fangirl episode. Sorry about that. But we are looking at The Kitchen Diaries
by Nigel Slater.
Slater.
What a man.
We love Nigel Slater. Oh my God.
Did we originally bond over Nigel Slater? Is this how this friendship began?
I think probably. Based on all of our other conversations about chefs, I feel like probably he might be the only one we agree on.
This is true. In my first year in London, I saw that he was signing a book, his new book, I can't remember which book it was, at a Waterstones near my work. And I just had no concept of him being a thing. Like, I just didn't realise that people even liked him. So I thought I'd just be able to pop down to this bookshop and get the book signed for my mum because I wanted to get it for her for Christmas. And I got down there. It was Bank, the area. I'm not just forgetting the article. Wasn't in our bank. It was the Waterstones at Bank. The queue was all the way out the door, winding around the corner. And I had just no idea. I think it was like 2013. And at the front of that queue was Ruby Tando from Great British Bake Off.
No way!
She looked like such a fangirl. She was so excited and she looked really nervous. And it was so cute. But I just couldn't be arsed queuing. But I just pretended that I wanted to buy a book in the bookshop anyway. And I just went in and just had a look at Nigel.
Just stared him like Madame Tussauds.
Did. I did. He was sitting at a little desk. I mean, a normal sized desk. And he was signing all the books. And I just like did this fake browse and had a little look at him and then didn't buy anything and left. He got my mum a different book that year.
I like all these Hannah meets, in quotes, the chef stories that we get on the podcast.
Hannah meets the chef. The chef gets a restraining order.
Hannah stares longingly across the road at a chef.
I think that's it. I think I'm out of those stories now. That's all I have.
Should I tell you a little bit about Nigel in this book?
Yes, please. As much as I love him, I don't feel like I know very much about him.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to uncover much else for you here. He is quite the enigma in his personal life. But we can learn about him, you know, in his endeavours in life that aren't personal. Professional, I think is the word. So, Mr. Slater was born in the 50s in Wolverhampton. So he's one of mine, little Midlander. Doesn't have an accent, interestingly. He got into cooking by doing an OND in catering after he left school, and he worked in various restaurants and hotels. And then he became the food writer for Marie Claire, because you could back then, and that was in 1988.
The year I was born.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, he wrote for Marie Claire, and then he got his Observer column in, do you want to guess what year he started writing for the Observer?
Oh, 2000 something?
1993.
It's been that long.
Yeah, he's been writing for the Observer and the Guardian for almost 30 years.
Whoa, that's mad.
Isn't that crazy? And he still is definitely one of the first pages I look at.
Yeah.
When you're looking at food in the Guardian and Observer. If you don't know Nigel Slater, then
where the fuck
have you been? But he's known for this kind of simple, seasonal, easy to cook food. It's not chefy in any way. It's very seasonal. I would say he was kind of pro-vegetable before it was cool. Would you?
Yeah, I would agree. And it's very intuitive, or it comes across that way anyway, doesn't it? It's like he feels like something that day, and he has a mooch around his kitchen and he rustles something up and he puts it all together. And hey, it's a great recipe and I've decided to share it with you.
And I think that really comes across in his writing. That sets him apart from other food writers in that he's known for kind of writing everything down, right? He's got these diaries and these list books where he writes everything that he eats, and they become these books, which we'll obviously talk about this book particularly. I find it fascinating, and the way he writes is, I think, like beautiful. It gives me like goosebumps and makes me like, oh, it's so lovely. Presents this very idealistic view of England, at least.
Yeah, it does. I think him and Nigella come from the same school of prose when it comes to cookbooks and food writing. It's not for everyone. I have heard people kind of bitch about his recipe writing style, and in the same way that people bitch about bloggers writing whole paragraphs and stories before you can even find the recipe and you have to keep scrolling and scrolling. His recipes read more like, I don't know, poetry or a story or something, and they're not just like chop 40 grams of garlic and blah, blah, blah. So I guess it's not for everyone, but we like it. We love you.
There's people that it's not for. I think they're cancelled and I don't want to speak to them. So,
okay.
Bye.
Bye. Please still listen and rate us on iTunes.
Rate us 5 stars. So here's another quiz for you. How many to date recipe books has he written?
Oh, 10?
18.
Wow.
18 recipe books plus his autobiography, which we'll come to.
Is that toast?
Yeah.
Best name of a book ever.
Your guy. So 18 recipe books, and then this book that I'd never heard of before reading up about Nigel, but it's called Eating for England, which I'm absolutely going to buy because it sounds incredible. So here's what the synopsis says. Eating for England is an entertaining, detailed, and somewhat tongue-in-cheek observation of the British and their food, their cooking, their eating, and how they behave in restaurants, with chapters on, amongst other things, dinner parties, funeral teas, Indian restaurants, dieting, and eating whilst under the influence.
That sounds so good.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it sounds exactly like the kind of thing that I would be into reading.
He loves observing things, doesn't he? And just in this book, obviously, it's quite text heavy and quite, again, I guess, narrative led. And he just seems to enjoy the kind of slowness of food and all the kind of processes around it and all the routines and everything. And he's just got such love for it, and it really comes across.
He's very similar to Nigel, like you said, in that kind of narrative approach. But so when we looked at How to Eat, we talked about how how there was all these other characters and other people and, you know, these other influences that Nigella talks about. Whereas Nigel Slater, those people are there, but you don't hear about them.
Yeah.
He says we and us and they, and he talks about wanting to cook for lots of people. In this book, he talks about cooking for lots of people, but he never mentions who they are. And this adds to his like mystery, I think, which I love.
He is mysterious. There's one section, I don't know if you read it, where I think it's called Fishes and Loaves, or Loaves and Fish. And it's just a small paragraph to say that he's had a meeting at home and it's run over with a few people there, and they keep looking longingly at his oven because they obviously want him to cook something amazing. And he's really tired and he actually just wants them all to leave. But what they end up making is just having just bread and like sardines from the larder and loads of beer. And yeah, it's actually just very cute and very human in that he just wants this bloody meeting to be over and he isn't arse cooking for everyone. So he just throws some fish and bread at them.
So yeah, his memoir, Toast, which I think if you aren't familiar with Nigel Slater, you might be familiar with his memoir because it was a book about his childhood and eating and just, you know, the way he grew up. It was made into a play and that's been out for many, many years up and down the country. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen the play. I've seen the BBC adaptation. I really liked it.
He's just adored. You say you know some people that he rubs up the wrong way with his prose, but I don't know any of those people, thank God. And I think he's just really well loved. And I think it's just so easy. Like a couple of chefs we've talked about before where it feels worrisome to cook a recipe or you're nervous about getting it right. Or there's, you know, if you skip something or you don't have an ingredient, you worry. But that is just not the case here. When I think about the lots of things I cook on a kind of day-to-day, week-to-week basis, a lot of them have like started out as Nigel Slater recipes that have just become adapted in our house to maybe not looking anything like the original one, but that's how it started because there's these like flashes of inspiration.
Yeah, you're so right. And the techniques are never really challenging. It's just not absurd amounts of work. And it's all very adaptable to your taste if you want a little bit more of that or a little bit more of this. I remember pre-TikTok feta pasta madness. He has a great recipe for feta where you just cook spring onions and chili in a pan and then put feta in as well. And I can't remember if you bake it or fry it, but it's just literally there are the ingredients and then you eat that with some bread. And there's so many recipes like that which are just 4 or 5 ingredients and really, really delicious and actually would make them on a weeknight.
It's all about like the produce, right? And what you choose. And he's not like judgy about, he's very vegetable led, but he's not judgy about you eating meat. And there's a lot of meat in this book. And I know others of his books. I know he's bought a couple of vegetarian ones out recently. But he makes no qualms about eating meat.
What he does say in the beginning, I don't know if you spotted this, is where he says that he's never set foot in a Tesco.
Oh, I didn't spot that, but that doesn't surprise me.
It's in the foreword, and maybe it's changed since then because this has been out a while, right? But it's in praise of local shops and going to, you know, fingers and greengrocers and supporting local business. But yeah, I thought that was quite funny. I couldn't imagine him wandering the aisles of Tesco, getting lost.
No, or just doing it and getting like frustrated and like
at the self-checkout. It's in the bagging area. What are you talking about?
This book, quickly, before we go on to talk about all the lovely things that we cook. So it's called The Kitchen Diaries Part 1, or 1. Kitchen Diaries I. And that is of 3. There's 3 Kitchen Diaries.
Wow.
It was first published in 2005. It's his 10th book of 18. So the basic premise of the book is it's a year of Nigel Slater eating.
Yeah.
It's a whole year. It's split by month and it pretty much every day. Some days there are recipes and some days they are just descriptions of what and how he ate. And it's supposed to be this real ode to shopping seasonally and locally. And like he talked in the beginning, and I think this is what he's trying to get at, is the essence of the book is the right food at the right time. And I love that. And I love actually, he talks in the beginning about how seasonality is important, not just because it's better for the environment and it's better for our food system and all that stuff to eat what's in season. But if you don't eat seasonally, so he talks about eating asparagus asparagus in February
Yeah.
or whatever. He talks about not knowing when it's at its best.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I was like, that's such a nice positive spin on you can't always have what you want when you want it.
Yeah.
Because that's true, isn't it? When you know you can get asparagus whenever you want, you don't know when it tastes great or when you should go and eat it.
Yeah.
Because the difference is astronomical.
Yeah, and I think that's in his section about how he likes to grow his own fruit and vegetable. He talks about his little garden, and growing that gives you that appreciation for when things taste their best in a way we don't understand if we can pick it up any month of the year. So I just like how it's a totally seasonal cookbook without ever really banging on about seasonality. It's just like seasonality in practice.
Yeah, it's not a total like wank fest about how good organic produce is. And like, I really liked, he talks about sometimes how it's a bit depressing. Like on the 1st of February, he says the following: the thought of shopping for homegrown fruit and vegetables in February makes my heart sink. There's only so much enthusiasm you can muster for kohlrabi and potatoes, flowery apples and crates of stinky old sprouts. And it's like, yeah, that's the reality of English produce, right?
Yeah.
British produce. We've got the hungry gap. Like sometimes it's shit.
Yeah. And as well, for each date, doesn't he have kind of a little description of what the dish is or what the kind of theme of eating was that day? And there was an alarming moment where I didn't really grasp that was the concept yet. And there was a section that was like, where is it? Oh yeah, there was a section that was salty lemons, children, and charred chicken.
What a recipe. Children in season, lads.
I think we all know that children doesn't go with charred chicken.
2 proteins, man. I can't do that.
Yeah, I love those little descriptions that he has. They're all just very poetic and brief about the kind of theme of the dish or what he was eating that time.
Yeah.
It's all just very lovely. It's all just very heartwarming.
It's very beautiful. And as we know, what the greatest thing about getting a book that spans the whole year and is broken down into dates is figuring out what thing happens on your birthday. So obviously that was the first thing I did. And unfortunately, he doesn't write an entry on my birthday. So
he was too busy off celebrating you.
Clearly.
No, there was nothing for my birthday either. We're just black holes to Nigel Slater.
So, Hannah, tell us what you cooked. Did you manage to cook more than 2 things this time?
Oh, shade! I did, because little goody two-shoes here cooked a 3rd dish at lunchtime today. In a panic last minute cook. Okay, made 3 things. The first thing was, because I got fennel in my like weekly vegetable box. I don't think I've ever cooked with fennel before. I know that's quite embarrassing to say, but I don't know what to do with it. Fun fact, when I worked in a pub in East London, we spent one Sunday shift allocating fruits or vegetables to every member of staff. So you would be, for example, like, I don't know, a pink grapefruit. And I was made to be a fennel. And I didn't know what to take from that. I thought it might be like my frizzy hair.
Your 4 necks. No.
Oh my god. Yeah, maybe that hadn't occurred to me, but thanks for that. So anyway, I had no idea what to do with it, but then checked this book and he has a recipe for grilled fennel with mozzarella and olives.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now it isn't like the summer sections and it is March, so that was kind of out of season, but here we are. So it's very simple and I think it would work very well for a barbecue or something. You slice the fennel into, I think it's like slices no thicker than a pound coin, and you grill them until they're quite crispy, and mine were definitely crispy, and then you just make a little dressing with olive oil and parsley, black olives. I used Kalamata, very strong little olive, a Kalamata.
A lot of strong flavours in this dish. Fennel, olives.
But yeah, and then literally that's it. You just like toss the fennel in this dressing and then you tear over some mozzarella. And it's really good. It's delicious. It was very simple. Obviously, it took about 10 minutes to put together and now I know what to do with fennel. So would definitely make that again. There's kind of a nice contrast between the creaminess of the mozzarella and the crunchiness of my almost burnt fennel. But yeah, that one was really good. I always find that about Nigel Slater books. When you have a random ingredient and you look up the index, he has recipes for practically everything, and they're usually really accessible and just like a salad or, I don't know, a stew, or just very straightforward.
Yeah, Nigel Slater books are made for your weekly vegetable box delivery, right? And when you don't know what you're going to get, but you want to use it because that's the whole point.
Exactly. The second thing I made was linguini.
Ooh.
Not in an ode to my real love of ratatouille rather than Remy. Because that is in fact his name. Linguini with lemon. So this is a dish that I think my mum originally first made, and I think that original recipe was from Nigella or Jamie Oliver or someone, and we've both cooked it so many times that I forget even what the original is. So similar to like the risotto that I made for How to Eat, it's just nice to go back to a recipe on something like that and see where it's come from, or if you've been doing it right, or if you kind of want to tweak it again. And it's just so good. So you get like, I think it's 75 mils of olive oil, juice of a lemon, and you grate 75 grams of Parmesan, which is no small amount of Parmesan.
Yeah.
I'll post the picture, but it's a little Parmesan mountain. And then you just kind of mix all that up, cook the linguine and mix it all in this. And it's so delicious. It's just so simple, and it was meant to be for 2 people, and I ate it all myself, and it was just, just like really zingy and cheesy. It's just amazing. I just think everyone should make that. We spoke about cooking for one, and that is like the perfect supper to make for yourself.
I was just going to say that sounds perfect. 4 ingredients or whatever.
Totally. And he has a lot of these dotted throughout this book, what he calls 10-minute pasta dishes. The last thing I made was a tomato curry.
Ooh.
Yes, which I haven't made a tomato curry before. Have you? I've seen a few recipes, but
no,
it was very nice. It was a little bit watery, which made me question Carrie Bradshaw style. I couldn't help but wonder how watery is a curry meant to be. You cook onion, garlic, ginger, some spices like cumin seeds and brown mustard seeds and turmeric. Then you add some chopped tomatoes and an equal amount of water, and then you put in whole tomatoes, and then you let it all cook together. But it's meant to cook for long enough that it reduces down a little bit, but the tomatoes are meant to stay whole and intact. And actually it was just a little bit watery by the end, so I did think that there was perhaps a little bit too much water in there. But the flavors were really, really good. I didn't have it with naan bread, but it would be really, really delicious with some kind of flatbread. Oh, and you stir through some yogurt at the end, so it's got like a certain creaminess as well. That was another great one as well, and really low maintenance, only like half an hour all in all. And
I guess you could try that with different tomatoes when you come across them, when they're in different seasons.
Yeah.
If you go to the farmer's market.
I'm always at the farmer's market. What tomatoes do you have? But yeah, that was it. I feel like there's not so much to say because just everything's lovely, and you know it's going to be lovely. You look at the recipe and it's all flavors that you like, and there's not much messing around, and it just makes sense.
Yeah, I think this book in particular there's so many recipes. Like there must be 300 recipes in here. So like when I was thinking about what to cook, it was, what do I have? And then what do I like? So I know that the recipes that I cooked will be good. It's not a case of like, I'm kind of having to try something new and I don't know how it's going to turn out.
That's it. No complaints. I wish I could bash him a bit. I wish there was something I could say, but there's just nothing you can bloody say. The man is perfection. What did you make?
So I also made 3 things. I also don't really have any complaints. So we had basically a whole day of eating recipes from this. So the first thing I made is like a brunchy recipe, which I was very excited about actually. So it's the orange and ricotta pancakes.
Oh, I saw them.
There's blood oranges everywhere. Like they're just coming out of the ears of all of the shops around here. So I was like, oh, that would be great. And also I was kind of thinking like that would look good on Instagram because, I haven't been to brunch in over a year. So I was like, how can I bring brunch to me? Also, I love pancakes.
Yeah, that means you can post 2 pictures of them and I can hold back the picture of the tomato curry, which just looks like a plate of red. Tell me about the recipe. Where do the oranges come into the pancake equation?
So the pancakes are just ricotta, basically, and a little bit of flour, an egg, and then you zest, he says a big orange, but I zested kind of 2 medium blood oranges in there. And that's, so it's like 250 grams of ricotta. It's great because if you like fluffy pancake, you whisk the eggs till they're kind of stiff. So they're really light and fluffy. They puff up. They're great. My perfect kind of pancake. And then he says to serve them with like jam and icing sugar, which I did eat them with a little bit of jam, but they would be great with any kind of syrup or anything. My little cat was nibbling at the first batch. I turned my back for a minute and I found her like nibbling at the first batch. So she's a fan, which is weird.
Well, I caught our cat eating my bowl of bread dough the other day as well. So there's something in the carbs for these cats.
I think Samosa just, loves brunch, she's a basic bitch like me.
Well, aren't they essentially just all on the Atkins diet all the time? All they eat is meat. So they just see a carb and they're like, gimme.
So they were great. Would make them again.
Yeah.
They were really easy. They would also be nice with some raspberries kind of sprinkled on top of them, I thought. That orange and raspberry vibe. But obviously that's
Lovely.
not particularly seasonal. The next thing I made, I knew that you wouldn't make it. So I was like, at least we won't cross over.
What was it?
It was the zucchini cakes with dill and feta.
I saw them and my eyes lit up for a second and then I saw Dill and I just wanted to die. Also, isn't it weird that he calls them zucchini when we call them courgette?
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of that, and I didn't know if it was a 2005 thing that was cool in 2005. This is another one. I had loads of courgettes / zucchini from my vegetable book, and I never use them because they're just so uninspiring generally, but I love dill. And so I was very excited. I love it, and there's so much dill in this, like a big handful, and it's sexy. I also had some feta left over, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to make the TikTok pasta recipe because it was just staring at me in the fridge with a lot of tomatoes, which are in my next recipe that I'll talk about. And I was like, I don't want to make the TikTok pasta recipe. Like, I can make pancakes and be a basic brunch bitch, but I can't be a basic TikTok bitch. Anyway, again, this is the week of stacking things. So you just make like little pancakes.
Yeah.
So you grate the courgettes. So you bring them out, get all the water out of them, and you mix them with all the dill, some feta, a little bit of flour, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe also an egg. Wow, they're very similar recipes, just one savory and one's cheesy pancake recipes. Is what I did from Nigel Slater. Yeah, you just kind of fry them up.
Nice.
Quite a lot of oil. He says to serve them with a chutney.
Right.
But I had a little bit of hot sauce with them,
Nice.
with the main event, which was my last recipe, which was the pumpkin and tomato laksa.
I didn't see a laksa.
Yes, I think it's in November.
Right.
So we're doing really good on the seasonality between us. But I had a squash, and like I said, had loads of tomatoes. There's always a coconut milk in the cupboard, so It was perfect. So in true Nigel style, I had to substitute a couple of the ingredients.
Yeah.
So things like coriander root, which I'd never seen as an ingredient, and I definitely have never seen it in a shop, even like a greengrocer.
Yeah.
Literally the roots from a coriander plant.
Wow.
But the internet said that I could switch it with cumin.
Oh, wow.
Or extra coriander stems. So I did that, added some of those. Interestingly, I had a little bit of a breakdown when I got home from buying all the stuff for this. I didn't need to get much, like I said, but the herbs, so the dill for the zucchini cakes and then the coriander for this, because I got it from my local shop that I talk about all the time, and then got it home and didn't know if I'd picked up flat leaf parsley or coriander. And did you know that they look so alike?
Yes.
I didn't.
This is why I questioned if you had bought coriander for episode 2 and you said that you had changed your mind about coriander, your lifelong hatred of coriander, and you dramatically said that this local specific one shop's coriander changed everything, and I wondered if you had bought parsley.
Well, we'll never know.
But we can take a pretty good guess.
Well, I am sure I did buy real coriander for this one. Because when I realised that I might have done something wrong, I went to the supermarket shop and got a packet of coriander and I compared and they looked the same. But we'll never know for the ottolenghi. So you make a little paste, like a curry paste with the coriander and ginger, garlic. Anyway, basically I got to use my chopper and I was thrilled about it.
Yeah, we've been missing that. Missed the chopper.
Yeah. You kind of steam some squash, then you just kind of assemble and add some noodles. So it's the paste, some coconut milk, some stock. You can use chicken or vegetable, some fish sauce, and then the squash. And you just kind of warm it all up and it tastes great. Top it off with some noodles and some coriander and some mint, actually, he says. And then boom. And it was gorgeous.
Wow. Yeah, because I've always been afraid of making laksa at home because I thought it would be really hard to achieve that kind of depth of flavour that you get with the really good ones. But that sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how authentic it is. I don't know enough about what exactly constitutes a laksa, but it was beautiful and it tasted like that kind of laxery, like coconut-y, spicy, warming. 10 out of 10 would make it again, and ate it the next day for lunch as well. And it was that great thing of it just got better.
One thing I do like about Nigel Slater, I say that as if I haven't said 10,000 other things that I do like about him, is that he does play around with other influences from different countries and different cuisines, but he never gets really bogged down in being super technical or trying to do it exactly the same. He kind of admits that it's his play on something and he just has a little go, and it usually tastes great. It's just always like little nods.
Yeah, he's not saying this is the most authentic thing ever. Does it a few times in this book, doesn't he? Like with miso and this laksa and things like that. Was there anything else you'd like to have cooked from this, or did you struggle?
Actually, there was so much sweet stuff that I wanted to make.
Me too!
I just didn't get the chance, but I love all of his dessert recipes or cake recipes because they're always just really comforting and homey, like something maybe your mum would knock up on at lunchtime or something, and just something that you could just sit with a cup of tea and eat. It's not super fancy. There's no like thermometers or loads of bloody custards or whisking or anything. It's all just there was an orange and lemon cheesecake, which looks amazing, really creamy. There was a pistachio cake, which looked very good. Just love everything pistachio. And there was a peach and blueberry sour cream cobbler. A cobbler. I've never made a cobbler. I want to make a cobbler.
Life's too short. Make the cobbler. That's our new little inspirational quote for this week.
There was also Lancashire cheese and courgette crumble, which I thought sounded interesting.
Oh.
Not zucchini there, interestingly. He just plays to his audience. Here, he knows it's in Lancashire, they call them courgettes. He's not fucking around. But yeah, there was loads. There was another macaroni fontina thing. So much to cook, and I feel like whatever we've discussed here is just a percentage of the book. There's so much in here. It's going to take me a long time to get through it. Maybe we should set ourselves the challenge of reading along with it for the rest of the year and posting our thoughts.
Yes, I like that. Also, the pictures are beautiful. Just to say, he talks about in the intro how he takes the photos himself. They're taken at home, so the photos are taken on the day that the food is cooked. Love him. The original blogger, Instagrammer.
He is, and the cover is just some apples. You know, he's a simple man. It's just what will we put on the cover? Just some apples. What about you? What did you want to cook?
Oh, so much. Again, same as you, like so much sweet stuff, which is, generally not my number one go-to thing. But I think that you're right because it was so simple and nice and it looks easy. So there's a lime tart, the chocolate pudding, there's some brownies, loads of great stuff. There was smoked mackerel on toast, which the picture looks incredible. You mash the mackerel with some cream and then there's some nice cheese on top, like perfect. Here's a recipe for tara masalata, which is my number one favorite dip.
Is it?
Yeah, love it. I'd like to use this opportunity to shout out to Co-op, who do a smoked tara masalata. Well, they did do it, but they seem to have discontinued it, and I am furious about it, frankly. Whether it's just it didn't sell very well in my Co-op or they've discontinued it everywhere, I don't know, but if you work for Co-op, let me know.
Was there anything else?
Just everything. Baked mushrooms and with tarragon mustard butter. Like, come on, that sounds great. There's some spiced roast potatoes in here that sound very similar to what my mother-in-law makes. It's like her speciality. Yeah, basically everything. Just everything. Love him.
Love him.
That's it.
We do need to rate him.
We need to rate him.
I wonder how this is going to go.
Do you want to talk about our rating system?
I do want to talk about our rating system. As soon as I pull up the relevant document. So for each book, we give it our highly sophisticated cookbook circle rating out of 5. And we base that on a few elements: the usability of the book, the accessibility, the ingredients used. Are they things that you would find easily or have to hand? The aesthetics. Does it look nice? Does it look pretty? And veggie friendliness, which is my token addition that I disprove every episode by talking about fish at an increasing frequency. And for each chef or book, we adapt what we rate out of. So for Old Hoppy, it was out of calves' brains because they were just all over that book. And for David Chang, it was piggies because there was a strong pork representation in that book. And for Nigel, we're going to rate him out of
farmers markets.
Oh, we have to give him a rating out of 5 farmers markets. So that's because he just waxes lyrical about farmers markets all the time. Like he lives in LA and sips on green juice all the time. Anyway, Victoria, out of 5 farmers markets, how many are you going to give Kitchen Diaries?
Unsurprisingly, it's a high number. And I'm kind of torn actually, because it deserves 5. Based on all the things we talked about, it definitely deserves 5. But when you hold it up against our very scientific methodology in rating, does it need to have half a point or even a whole point taken off for ingredients? And only because obviously I couldn't find some of the ingredients that he asked for, but also because of the seasonality, which is great and I love, and I want to cook and eat seasonally, but it means that some of the cool things you can't make because you can't get the things.
We love the seasonality, but we don't.
We love the seasonality, but yeah, I want to eat seasonally, but I also want instant gratification when I see something that I want to make or eat. But then, the other half of me says, no, it doesn't deserve to have that taken off because I'm just being a dick. So I'm going to give it 5 farmers markets out of 5.
That was the process.
Just, working through my issues. How about you, Hannah?
I also struggled because, again, we know I have problems separating the chef from the book. And if I have a lot of love for a certain chef or cook, then I just want to give their book 5. I thought that would be the case here, but I questioned if I should knock some points off for the veggie friendliness because there is a lot of veggie stuff in here, but also there's a lot of meat as well. And then I thought, no, that's bullshit. If you gave Nigella 5 and she has loads of meat in there, and you gave Moro 5, that was 50% meat, then I can't be knocking off points for Nigel just because I'm embarrassed about my undying love for him. So I am going to also give Kitchen Diaries 5 out of 5 farmers market.
I love this. 2 in a row.
I know. It's not going to stay this way. It's really not.
No. I say that. I've got no idea. So should we quickly mention our next book?
We shall.
So our next book is by a chef that I think at least I don't have the same undying love for, but I am reserving judgment until we get it. So I don't know if you would have heard of him, but our next book's by a young man called Jamie Oliver.
I was just thinking as you were speaking that whatever, foodies can talk at length about Nigella and Ottolenghi and Nigel Slater, every bloody person has heard of Jamie Oliver. So I think he will be our most commercial chef to discuss. But of course, we will be speaking about the book, not the chef.
Yes, the book, not the chef. And that's going to be hard because we've never done it yet. So we'll try for Jamie.
The book that we'll be discussing is The Naked Chef.
Yeah.
Which I remember hearing about as a kid and being like, wow, racy.
Naked. I'm actually quite excited about it because I've never read The Naked Chef, and it's his first book, I think, and so this is pre-commercialized Jamie Oliver.
Yeah,
I'm interested. Also, it's going to be quite Italian influenced, I would imagine, right?
I think so. It will be really interesting.
Have you ever met Jamie Oliver? Seen him in the street?
I'll tell you about that next time when I follow Jamie Oliver home. No, I'm looking forward to it. It will be good. And it will be interesting to see the contrast between Jamie then and Jamie now. 30-minute meals, 25-minute meals, 20-minute meals, 15-minute meals. Oliver, that we all know.
8 ingredients, 5 ingredients, 2 ingredients. Yeah, I can't imagine that this will be the last Jamie Oliver book that we cover.
We were shocked about Nigel's 18 books. I can't wait to count up Jamie. But we're going to come at it with a really unbiased point of view.
Love you, Jamie. Please come on the show. Thanks for listening to our fangirling. Sorry that it's been a fucking bore fest. Come back next week with Jamie, where we slag him off non-stop for all the same reasons that we've praised Nigel Slater, probably.
Okay, we're going to put you out of your misery now, dear listener. You've been kind to stay this long.
Thanks you for listening.
Bye!
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Cookbook Circle. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, and if you've enjoyed it, please leave us a review as it helps others to find us. You can see how the recipes from this episode turned out on our Instagram @Cookbook Circle, and if you make anything from the books we talk about, please don't forget to tag us. See you next time. Bye!